Hey guys, this is week 19 of my series titled 52 Weeks of Reaper. Every week for 52 weeks, I'll be releasing a new video focusing on a key feature in Reaper. So let's jump right in. So for this week, we will be talking about vocal alignment in Reaper. So here we have this arrangement, and I recorded some vocals stacked, and I made sure that it was sloppily recorded time-wise. So let's check that out.
Gotta line up the words, line up the syncopation, syllables and consonants, all in the right location. Gotta line up the words, line up the syncopation, syllables and consonants, all in the right location.
All right, so you definitely hear the sloppiness. So the first thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna hold shift and press the up arrow on my keyboard to make those waveforms bigger. So I'm just changing the view. It is not changing the volume. So that's shift and your up arrow, and then hold shift and hold your down arrow or tap it, and it'll return it back to the original state. But I'm just doing this for more visibility. So if you notice right here, the sloppiest part is right around here. I did it on purpose. So let's check that out without the music.
Syllables and consonants.
And the two biggest offenders are these two right here. Once again, this was done on purpose. So the main track that's gonna be our guide track, which is the track that we're trying to follow and lock everything to, will be this top track right here. The way you're gonna achieve this in Reaper is through the stretch markers, which I talked about in last week's video. So there are two ways to go about this. So I'm gonna do it more manually first, and then I'm gonna show you a little part of a more automatic way to set it up, and then we'll show you how to go about doing it. So first, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add a bunch of stretch markers at the beginning and the end points of all the phrases that I want to affect. I'm gonna focus in on these two last phrases here, and then we'll go from there. So we're gonna put on these three tracks at the bottom, we're gonna put stretch markers. So for me, my keyboard shortcut is Shift W. So with this track highlighted, and I have my snapping turned off, so I can click and place my playhead wherever I want it to go. Then I'm gonna hit Shift W. So I'm gonna place one there, one there. Definitely want one there. So I'm just creating control points. There. This is gonna be a little bit tedious and time consuming, so I'm gonna skip ahead in the video to once I'm done. Okay, so I think I pretty much have all the control points I want for these two last phrases right here, where it gets really bad.
Syllables and consonants.
So definitely at the syllables and consonants, it is really, really bad. So you can visually see that. So definitely at the beginning of each word, the S sounds, hard consonants, you definitely want to make sure you put control points there. Words that end with the S sound, the hissing, you want to line those up so those are all hitting at the same time. You don't want a bunch of at the end. It's distracting in a track when you start editing, cleaning up, and mixing and advancing the vocals to make it sound very clear. That stuff starts to stand out, and it will really play a huge part when you start setting up your spatial effects like reverbs and delays, especially the fast, quick, slappy type of stuff, and reverbs with pre-delay on it, fast pre-delay. So those things start to stand out. It's very rhythmic, and it can be distracting depending on how sloppy it is. So definitely I'm paying attention to right here.
Syllables and constant, syllables and consonant, syllables and consonant.
So consonants. Make sure I have a control point there for that hard C sound. So I think I should be good. But you see how far off these are. Consonants is up here, and then consonant starts here on this one. So we gotta line those up. But I think I should be good with control points. So one thing to note, you're gonna have to go to hit Control P to open up your preference menu, and then you want to go to mouse modifiers over here, right over here on the side, and then up top under the context menu, you have to select the context of what the mouse modifications you want to make. So the context right now is media item stretch marker, because that's what we're dealing with. And under where it says control for your modifier, we want to change this. Mine is already changed, but I'm going to show you what to do. So right here where it says move stretch marker, preserve all rates, rate envelope mode, ignoring selecting / grouping. You want to click on that. Yours might not say that exactly, but you want to double click and then scroll down to where it says move stretch markers, preserving all rates, rate envelope mode, and then further over where we have this second drop down menu, you want to make sure this is checked off. So select ignoring selection / grouping. Once you're done selecting that, hit OK. What that's going to help you do is, if we wanted to move this point, we can hold control, hover over that point, and once you see your cursor turn to this icon, hold control, and you'll be able to readjust that stretch marker without affecting anything time-wise. So we're not doing any stretching yet. So if you ever need to fine-tune what is there, definitely when I show the next method of placing the stretch markers, you might need to definitely do that. But for now, this seems to be good. This one. So this marker, I want it to actually be here. There we go. So the stenant. We definitely want that there. So now that we have all the control points where we want them, all we have to do is actually right click and drag to select all the tracks that has the stretch markers on them. And by default, they should all be set to kind of lock and group to each other as you start moving them around. So I can grab this one because I want to line it up so that this phrase, which is syllables, we want that S sound coming in to line up with this main track up here. So now I can grab this and move it back and forth. And for some reason, sometimes it takes a while, but they're gonna connect to each other and start moving each other. So hopefully you guys can see that. So now these are linked together. And because we put them all to start at the same point, now they're lining up and they are stretching to go to the right spot. And then we can do the same thing over here, where we grab these they all get snapped together like magnets, and then we can adjust that there, line those up. So we're gonna line up these ends of these words, move them forward until they snap to each other, and then we grab and pull it so that they all end together. It's a little tedious, takes a little bit of time, but as you know, with editing and cleaning up, sometimes this is necessary, and some of this work is a bit painstaking, but this is a part of this world. So the cool thing is that Reaper has this feature built in. So right here, we got consonants starting here, consonants starting here, consonants starting here. So we got to line those up with this.
And consonants.
Then these endings.
Syllables and consonants, all in the right location. Gotta line up.
The last phrase down here, I really didn't have to do too much. I mean, I still could tighten up some of this. It looks like we need some points here from just eyeballing it. And then we can select all of these, tighten this up, tighten this up. So let's check out the before and after. So this is before.
Syllables and consonants, all in the right location. Syllables and consonants, all in the right location.
Okay, so this is after.
Syllables and consonants, all in the right location. Syllables and consonants, all in the right location.
All right, so definitely much, much tighter. And of course, you can go through all of this and make it as tight as you want. You can loosen it up a little bit, but you guys get the point. But the feature is there in Reaper by default. No third-party software needed. It takes a little bit of setup, and even when you do this with third-party softwares, it always is going to take a bit of setup and to get everything to react and respond correctly to give you the results that you need. But I like the way this is set up in Reaper and the amount of control you have. And, you know, if you do this type of stuff, you have the affinity to really sit down and get it right and make sure everything is tight. But the options are here, very flexible, very transparent, very good results. So that's one method of doing vocal alignment in Reaper. So as I said before, I showed you the manual way to put in the points. There is a more automated way to do that, and let's look at it right now. So I'm going to highlight these three that I want the stretch markers to be added to and hit the letter D as in dog, and it's going to bring up this dialog called dynamic split. So with that dialog open, by default, the default settings should work. So at transient should be checked when gate closes. And then you want to come down to here where it says set transient sensitivity right here at the bottom. So you want to click that. You're going to get this next dialog window that's going to allow you to set the transient sensitivity. So we can bring the threshold down, and hopefully you guys can see it, but there are two horizontal lines which is dictating the threshold. Let me move this over so you guys can hopefully see it. So once those threshold lines fall below the transients, that's going to dictate what's going to be created as far as the stretch markers. So you will see these lines, vertical lines. Hopefully you guys can see it. These yellow vertical lines. And it's going to dictate where those stretch markers are going to be created. So you play with your sensitivity and the threshold number to see what's going to get you where you want to be. It could be a little bit fiddly depending on the audio that you're working with, how well defined the transients are, and also the dynamic range of the audio that you're working with. It might be better to do it this way, but once you're done, you're gonna select right here the action to perform. You're gonna change it from split selected items to add stretch markers. Once you hit that and then you hit it, it's gonna add stretch markers. Now, the problem that you could run into when you do it this way is you might end up with too many stretch markers. So you're still gonna have to go through it and edit and remove unnecessary ones. So maybe like this, and then for some reason it added it here on this one, but not this one because of the transient information. So that's why most times I don't use that method, but that method is there for you to add the stretch markers that way. But you're still gonna have to go through it and edit and make sure that the markers are exactly where you need them. You're gonna have too many on some audio clips and you might have not enough on some audio clips. So that's why I just go with adding them manually and just take the time in doing it that way. But that option is there. So utilize it that way to add your markers, edit them, make sure everything is lined up perfectly. You have the right amount of markers, and then we go back to that step that I did where you start moving them around and having them snap to each other and then line up and stretch your audio that way. So that's pretty much it for the video, guys. That is one method of aligning your vocals in Reaper. It doesn't just have to be vocals, but basically audio content. I see people use it definitely when they have like multi-track of drums and they want to line up certain things, whatever it is that you need to line up multiple clips, whether it be one clip to another clip or multiple clips like what we just did. So definitely check that out. Great feature in Reaper. It is built in by default. Next week, I'm gonna show a different method with a different option in Reaper. This is from a third-party Reaper repository option. So join back next week for that video. Thanks for watching, guys. And as always, you'll see me in the next video.